Hello, everyone. We're starting a couple minutes early tonight. This is DroneNation episode number 8. I'm joined by my regular co-host, Marcus Crawford, and we're going to have a super secret guest join us about mid-show, about 9:30. So don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss what this man has to say when he arrives. I shouldn't even say, man, I kind of rounded down there, but, this person arrives. So before I get on to the big events of the day, I want to take a moment, maybe a kind of moment of silence. We've lost one of our, our members here. He was a great, fan in the chat, not only to this show, but to Philly Drone Life. But I think all the drone shows that we all hang around in general. John Spizzo, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. The bad news is he has passed away. This was confirmed by his grandson getting in touch with Mikey over at Philly Drone. So, he was always a very positive person to chat, always good comments. He had I think he had the little icon where he was kind of sitting back in a chair or whatever. Just a great guy. I wish I had known him better. But, the bad news is he's passed away. So, say a prayer or a moment of silence or, whatever your beliefs are for John, because he definitely deserves it. So
he was a drone fan. You saw him on a lot of shows.
Definitely. Yeah, he was a good member of the community. But, okay, I just wanted to get that. It's been a couple weeks since he passed now, and I didn't want to say anything until I was 100% sure, but I've got to confirm from a couple different sources. So, I just wanted to start off with that. We got a lot of people to chat tonight, and I didn't go through the names the last time, so I'm going to start early with the names. Is that okay, Marcus?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, Sam Burns is in here first. I'm gonna let everybody in the chat ponder this. I'm gonna let Marcus ponder this over while I go through all the names. Sam Burns says, "Good question for the group. If you could only own one drone, what would it be?" And I'm gonna let Marcus and the panel ponder this. And when I go through all the names, Marcus is gonna come back and he's gonna give us his definitive answer on what is the only drone he would own. So, we're keeping suspense for a few minutes. So, we've also got DroneNation Warriors in here with us, Bill. He already picked his drone. I won't give it away. Matt Cundiff is in here with us tonight. Hot Rod in Daytona is in here with us tonight. Stephen Ewing, all the way up from Maryland, late at night here, is in with us. Go down here a little bit. Sailor Steve is in here with us. He's from the Jersey Shore, where I'm located at. We got FSU grad DeMarco's in the house here. Greg Pittman's in here with us tonight. Let's see here. I think Johnny Drone Flyer joined us. Hello, Johnny, down from in the great state of Louisiana. Agent K's with us tonight. How you doing, buddy? I'm not sure where Agent K's from. It's probably a top secret since he's a secret agent, so he probably can't say. Marcus, of course, in here. Blue Skyver's with us up there in Canada. It's beautiful up there in the summer. He's been posting a lot of videos. He's got the Mavic Air 2 now, and he's posted some beautiful. He's got some great scenery up there in the summer. He's got that great snow scenery in the winter. But Lauren Donner's in with us. He's also another Canadian up there who's posting a lot of great videos and posts a lot of fabulous photos he takes with his drones and his cameras over on Facebook. Ridge Flyer 32 is here with us. Eden Fleming's with us tonight. Chris Hope is with us, who was on Lloyd's show, The Grumpy Vlogger, tonight. Thomas Ariels, who also was on The Grumpy Show. I'm not on it, but in the chat tonight. And I think I'm caught up. Oh, we have Oracle Beata in here with us. Michael Wright joined us. Michael, I hope your back's feeling better tonight, buddy. Bill, the drone reviewer's in here with us. And I think I've got everybody covered. So while we kept everybody waiting, Marcus has been probably running all the numbers in his head and, probably putting a spreadsheet in his head about which drone would he pick if he could only have one. Have you formulated a equation yet for this?
I have, and you know what, Ron, I got to tell you, it really didn't even take an equation, and I'll bet you we would
get a supercomputer.
Yeah, we'd probably get the same answer out of many people in here. So if you could only have one drone, and you're thinking about, so then you have to think about something that's kind of an all-around drone, right? That has good range, that has a nice camera, that has some level of obstacle avoidance, some level of intelligent flight modes, some level of tracking, some level of zoom, etc. And that probably kind of gives it away. It really, the Mavic Air 2. If somebody came in tomorrow and said, Marcus, you got to get rid of everything, you can only keep one, that's just an easy choice. The Mavic Air 2. Not that I don't love my Skydio. I freaking love that drone, but it doesn't have OcuSync 2, right? And it's not a folding drone, etc. So I love my Mavic 2 Zoom, although it's a little bit bigger and the technology's a little bit older. That one actually, truthfully, might come in second place there.
Which one? The Zoom?
The Mavic 2 Zoom. Yeah.
Okay, that's Zoom. Okay.
And then, of course, this says something about the quality that DJI brings to the table. And, really, truthfully, although I really enjoy a lot of those other drones, I really enjoy that original Xeno. I enjoy the Xeno 2. I really had a ton of fun with the FIMI X8 SE, but they just don't rise to that same level as the Mavic Air 2. It's for sure, the class of the field. So, Ron, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Hot seat.
Yeah. You need to answer that same question.
Well, I want to give a really thought out technical answer here and say the Mavic 2 Pro, because it's got the 1-inch sensor, the 10-bit color. It can do all these wondrous things that no other drone can do in its price class or whatever. But I actually have more fun flying the Mavic Air 2 than I do the Mavic 2 Pro. Even though it doesn't have some of the advanced features, and I can't explain it. It's just more fun to get out there and mess around with. And it takes a perfectly acceptable video if you're posting on social media.
Hey, so let me expand on that a little bit, Ron. When you say it's more fun, I bet if you think about it, it's probably how well it flies. The flight controls on it are so smooth, and it's so easy to fly well. It makes even a hack like me able to take some decent cinematic video.
Well, speaking of your forte with using the advanced piloting features, as you showed in a recent video with the Mavic 2 Zoom, even though it has a lot of the features that the Mavic Air 2 has, almost as the Air 2, not saying the Mavic all the time, Air 2, the Mavic Air 2 makes it easier to get to some of these features than the Zoom. Is that true?
Well, listen, we were all a little bit nervous about that Fly app at first, right? But once you get used to it, it is simpler and easier to use than the Go 4 app. And yeah, so I've come to really enjoy that the Fly app as well. And I think that's what you're getting at, Ron. But it's so much of it is the flight controls, that spotlight mode. Man, that is such a handy feature to have on the drone. So because it frees you from having to worry about the gimbal, and then you can fly the drone and get the position and the things that you want to get. And that's just one feature. There's just a ton of stuff. And it was a big deal that they gave us that green battery meter at the top. Now that you can actually, we were all complaining about that. You couldn't tell how much battery life you had. Well, now it's very, very easy. That zoom mode, listen, it is in fact digital zoom. It is not optical zoom. But for what most of us are going to do in a zoom situation, it's good enough, isn't it, Ron?
That Marcus, that when you zoom in, whatever, twice on the 4K 30, basically, I don't know the proper way to say. When you hit the button one time and you zoom in or whatever, I mean, it looks so good. I mean, it may not be lossless, but it looks so good that again, for posting on social media, whatever, I have no complaints with that one thing. And real quick, did you see our friend Laura? He picked the Matrice 300 as his only drone. But let me throw it in, folks. That's a little bit out of the price range of the drones we're talking about. Plus, I wouldn't call it a travel drone either.
Lauren lives in a different world than we do.
Laura must have a good sized vehicle to haul that massive thing around.
Yeah. Now he's making a statement here about the 1080p 4x being unusable, and that's probably
I mean, when you go 4 times, I mean, he's exactly right there. But most of us, I don't know. I say most of us. Most of us, I only want to go in once.
Hey, Stephen Ewing is making a good point here about comparing it to the zoom on the Anafi. I would say, Stephen, it is very comparable. What would you say, Ron?
Yeah, I would say so too, and that should be a challenge for you and I both, Marcus. We should both make doing videos where we compare the Air 2 to the Anafi and go through the settings, because it's very similar. Like if you're on 4K 30 on Anafi, you can only punch in so much before you really, it goes all the heck or whatever. But with the 1080p, you could punch in more and still maintain some good pixels or whatever, if that's the way to say it. But I would really like to test them head up. So I think we should both be up to the challenge.
Do that. And by the way, that is a compliment to the Mavic Air 2, that the digital zoom is as good as it is on the Anafi, because the Anafi has a really good zoom. Yeah,
I don't want to go all geek out here, but the Mavic Air, the Air 2 does have that as what Mikey says, the Bear aspirin processor. What is the Bear something? What's that processor called? The Bear Quad.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's a half inch rather than the smaller sensors on the Bear. It's a 1.5 inch sensor, so it's a bigger sensor size, and it's capable of doing the 48 megapixel photos. So, and I know somebody's going to say they're not true 48 megapixels. I'm not going to argue any of that with anybody. But what it does, since it has the ability to do all that, that makes it easier for it to crop in for that digital zoom and not lose much quality along the way.
That lossless zoom, like what the Anafi advertises. Hey, you just made me think of one more thing, Ron, that I used on the Mavic Air 2 for the first time the other day, and I didn't think it would make that big of a difference, and it did. And that is the what do they call it, the super view, or no, where it's the kind of their version of HDR for pictures.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm losing my mind here, Ron.
I don't know what they call it either, but yeah.
Yeah. In any case. So I was taking some pictures facing towards the Boise front, the Boise foothills, and when I looked at the two pictures, just a regular snapshot, and with that super res, or whatever they call it, smart picture they call it.
Right.
Yeah, and it smart photo. Sam Burns got it. Thank you, Sam. We're old. What can I say? Smart photo. But when I looked. So the stuff in the foreground, there wasn't all that much difference. It was a really bright day, right? So I'm thinking, when you have that good of light, it's not going to make a big difference. But it did. When you looked off at the mountains and the sky, they were clearer, and the sky was bluer, and it definitely looked better.
Interesting. You mean with the smart photo? With
the smart photo. So what I'm saying is,
48 megapixel, it's taking a 48 megapixel photo or the equivalent of one, but it's not doing any processing to the picture afterwards, like the HDRs bump up the contrast and maybe bump up the clarity for you. Without 48 megapixel, they just create a big file that you need to go in yourself and apply all the corrections to it that smart photo is doing. So yeah, you make a good point. If you don't want to edit your photos or whatever, use the smart photo feature most time. But if you want the best photo that your camera can capture, take the 48 megapixel and load it into Photoshop or whatever your video picture editor choice is, and you may be able to push the the things around, the gauges, the dials around. You will be able to push them around more than you would on a smart photo if you wanted to edit the smart photo.
Well, you know me, Ron.
Dr. Auto?
Yeah, Mr. Automatic. Yeah, I definitely, I'm going to use the heck out of that smart photo.
Marcus, I use the smart photo button most time. At very little times even do I think I need the extra pixels, the 48 megapixel, where I'm going to add that intensely that I need all those extra pixels. I mean, there will be situations, but I mean, they're not day-to-day situations. So I use the smart photo feature most of the time.
Yeah.
So, hey, listen. Well, I don't want to. We're going to kind of get into the Air 2 Zoom here in a bit when we have our guests coming in. But I mean, I was cutting you off if you wanted to finish a point on this before we moved on, and because we're going to move back in about 15 minutes. Marcus, you want to finish off here?
No, the only thing is, I was going to just speak a little bit about the FIMI X8 SE 2020.
Exactly. That's what we're thinking. Great minds thinking. Like, I'm trying to move it over to the FIMI so that we can get back to the Air 2 when our super secret guest gets here.
Yeah, yeah.
You did a recent video where you compared the Xeno 2 to the FIMI X8 SE 2020 edition.
Exactly. Took them both out over the Snake River Canyon, and they couldn't have been more different. I can tell you that I'm not quite sure how to describe the video that's coming out of that X8 SE 2020. And by the way, I thought I saw on Facebook that they did another camera update today, so it could be different. Pardon me, I haven't updated it yet.
Right.
But it almost looks like the white balance is too warm. But as you pointed out, Ron, it's more than that. The color science is just a little bit off on that. The Xeno looked more like what I would see with my eye, or with the similar color science to like
even though it was kind of a flatter color, it was almost too flat in color profile.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too flat. You're absolutely right. I thought, I need to try Vivid on that one of these days.
Which of course, the flatter one that allows you to, that should allow you to do more in post editing if it's kind of flatter. Where
yeah.
What was wrong with the color profile in the FIMI, that would even be hard to put in an editor and get it, that kind of flattened out again, where you could re-edit, like the grounds, the greens, they were all the browns, they were all the wrong tone or whatever.
Yeah, well, Jet Martin makes a good point here. He's calling it jaundiced, and that's probably a good way to kind of describe it a little bit.
And welcome, Jet. We haven't seen you in a while. You've left some great comments for us, and I'm sorry, I have my other channel. I hardly get into the DroneNation channel to respond to comments, but you've made a couple great comments lately. I'm going to try to maybe read some of them on the air soon or something like that. But thanks for the great comments, though, Jet. Thanks. Good seeing you in here.
Hey, Jet is asking about HDR causing it. So I don't
possibly.
Well, I've done it both ways, and that color science looks about the same to me with and without HDR. So I don't think so. But it is something that they need, that FIMI needs to work on. But I will say this: what I know about FIMI is they'll keep working on it, and I'm sure that they'll get it right. If you look at the difference between what it is now and that very first video that I made with it, there was a dramatic difference, and so I'm sure it'll get better. One of the things that I have planned is to do the 2018 and 2020 side by side and take a look at those. Now, that said, Ron, I want to say that the Xeno 2 has its own set of issues with the camera. So it has, as a lot of people have talked about, if you're going into the sun, you get really a lot of lens flare with it. On the day that I flew, the sun was overhead, so that wasn't such a big deal. But the other issue that goes on with that drone, and if you look at my video, you'll see it. There's times that you'll get a little bit of a shake in that gimbal, and I don't know how else to describe it. a little micro shake. Particularly, there's one scene where I'm coming in for a landing and I've got the gimbal pointed straight down, and it'll really be noticeable there.
Yeah, and let me just throw in real quick that the Phoebe's problem with the color science could be corrected with firmware updates, and I don't think the Xeno's lens flare could be corrected. Hey, Sam Burns made a comment here. He's shoot the Phoebe in F-Log and do the color in post. And Sam's right. Now, I did shoot an F-Log when I had your original 2008. And it wasn't a real flat log file like I'm used to seeing on my DJI drones. So I cannot push it around as much as I could on the DJI drones. But maybe they have improved that in the 2020, which, of course, Sam Burns has the 220,000 edition. So, yeah.
Or Oracle Mihata is saying shaking the gimbal. How about shaking in the drone? Well, it could be.
He made that comment. I had to highlight it for a thing. He said that Xeno 2 is a possessed quad night camera, but way too unpredictable. I'm glad he mentioned that because, in your video, your Xeno 2 was all over the place. Like it almost hit you when you took it off. I mean, it was, when you said it was roaming around, that was putting it lightly or whatever. It was like he said, a drone possessed here. But the thing is, he must have the same Xeno 2 you have, but I don't. But my Xeno 2, it may have been like that when I first got out of the box, but the firmware updates have made it, kind of one of my more stable. I should say more stable drones because all the good drones are stable, but it makes it a very stable drone now with none of that. And whether it's no wind or somewhat wind, it kind of just hovers. And so, I mean, the crazy thing about drones like the Fimi and the Xeno 2, that my Xeno 2 could be very different from Marcus's. My Fimi could be very different from Marcus's. So what we're telling you about our drones may not be totally, relate to your drone. It's not like either of us are lying or exaggerating. The drones just are very different depending on what day. And we're going to have a guest that is going to tell us kind of the same story about his Fimi drone.
Yeah, no two are the same. And to your point, Sam Burns is doing very well with his Fimi. I know he's got some great videos out with it, but I know other people are having a range of issues, disconnections and that. I will say with mine, I mean, the connection, I've been very, very happy with I'm just trying to think if I've ever had a dropout with it. I don't think I have. And it's that part of it is really good. Both the FPV connection and the control connection on mine appear to be pretty good. My biggest gripe with the Fimi right now is the color science on the video, and then I still get the occasional tilted horizon, and that just drives me up a freaking tree. It's a pet peeve. I just seems like that would be something that would be so easy for him to solve, but it's not. Heck, even Hubson has got a nice flat horizon.
Right. We've said before off air, if you combine the Fimi X8 and the Xeno 2 or whatever, take the strengths of both of them, you may have a product that's a competitor.
Yeah. And so listen, I also want to say that we sound like we're being very critical, but these are also price dependent too. For you can still buy that Fimi X8 SE for $400, and it is just a tremendous value at that price. I mean, the fact that it has that kind of range, a 4K camera, all that. So we're doing some nitpicking here, but mind you, it's half the price of that other that Mavic Air 2 that we're talking about. So we just need to put that in context.
Right.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Maybe it's time to bring in our super secret guest to tell his story about his Fimi X8.
Hey, can I mention one more thing, Ron?
You go ahead and finish your point.
Well, I want to talk just a little bit about the Mavic Mini.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I
forget about the Mini.
Yeah, the thing is, the Mavic Air 2 is sucking up all the air in the room, and the Mini is kind of an also ran. And I got to thinking about that the other day when I was flying the Mavic Air 2. So I got the Mini out, charged up the batteries, and I went out to the Snake River Canyon. And I'm going to say that 2.7K video off of that little Mavic Mini, I will put that up against either the Xeno 2 or the Fimi X8 SE. It looks really good.
I agree. I'll take 2.7K off the Mini over the 4K off the other drones you just mentioned all day.
And I also want to say there was some wind going on, but I had no issues. I took that thing, I sent it out over the canyon. I did get a couple of wind warnings a couple different times, but nothing too dramatic. And it still flew at 8 meters per second and had, no issues at all. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there. That is an alternative in that $400, $400 to $500 price range. That Mavic Mini is a definite alternative.
Definitely competitor. I mean, I know it doesn't get it's not as good in the wind and it doesn't have 4K, but it's definitely a competitor in that class. For sure. And, my big complaint about the Mini and why I don't fly it more is that firmware update came out, I think, in end of April, beginning of May, and it put the wind warning in there. I get the constant wind warning when I'm flying the drone in what I call mile winds. No other drone gives me any trouble, warns me about the wind at all. And I'll put the Mini up in the same conditions in the whole flight. I have to keep, knocking away that wind warning button. So they've kind of ruined it for me with that wind warning message that comes up all the time. So
yeah, I understand, Ron.
But okay, well, folks, I know you've been waiting. Our super secret guest is back in the back room, and he's back there enjoying all the food and beverages we have back there for him, all the swag back there. But here he is, all the way from sunny Florida. It's Bill, the drone reviewer.
Hey, it's Bill, the drone reviewer. Ron, thanks for the filet mignon hors d'oeuvres in there. They were tasty, and you got that ice cold bottle of Coke tonight. Wow, you knew exactly. You treat your guests very special. So I'll always, you can just have me in the back room. I mean, I don't even have to be on. I mean,
what'd you think of that hollandaise sauce?
Man, I'll tell you what, Marcus, that was just like, that's like get your fingers up and lick it off. I mean, it was just. It was so good tonight. It really was.
Take a time before you go to bed, though, tonight, Bill.
Oh, I know. It's going to be like, well, Valerie's like, where's some for me? And I said, sorry, it was just enough for the guests tonight. So,
before we go any further, I want to congratulate Bill. He recently has passed 10,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, Bill the Drone Reviewer. We had a big special episode last week where many big luminaries from the drone community came in and helped us celebrate. But I mean, just on our own little group here, whatever, I want to say a job well done, Bill. I don't know what number I was on the subscriber thing, but I've been around for quite a while. Back when I don't think I was watching in your days with the Altel, but I was watching your days with the Mavic 1.
Yeah, well, it's like, it was a treat to have everybody on that night. We had the cream of the crop. If we'd had Billy there, we'd have had them all. He unfortunately couldn't make it, but I mean, it was a great evening, and I know we have several of the guests in tonight's chat. I have to call this out. Ray Kelly, congratulations! You are the grand prize winner from last week. I got a hold of all but one of them, and we will be getting their appropriate gifts out to them shortly. I'm having them shipped from Vistaprint, and we'll get them back out to you guys. And
well, let me say that there's no better, more deserved winner than Captain Ray Kelly.
Well, he got that too. Sailor Steve won a coffee mug. So congratulations to him.
He's from the Jersey Shore here. Congrats.
He's from the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
He's won a coffee mug. Now I got to caution everybody. The coffee mugs are not like the black ones like Ron and Marcus has, and you've seen. They don't have the black anymore. The inside is black. The outside is white, and it's going to have the other colored logo on it. But still, Valerie thinks she wants one. Okay. That's what she told me when she saw them. And I'm like, okay, I'll get you one. So I don't have a problem with that. But But no, Ray's going to get the polo shirt, several other ones, T-shirts, and some coffee mugs, and we'll be getting all those out shortly to everybody. And again, thanks for you two for showing up last week. It was a lot of fun. So if you get a chance, go check that out. We had a lot of fun last week. It was one of my favorite live episodes that we've ever done.
Bill, let me expand on that a little bit. It not only was it a great celebration of your success, but there was some really good drone conversation going on there.
Yeah, we really did. And and especially hitting up a segment that the three of us aren't as familiar with. Talking about drone racing, and Kelly's real up on that. Ken's real up on that, and that was real interesting. And then Rick, as always, has just some nuggets of wisdom that he passed on. And it
was fun watching Rick give Ken a little bit of a hard time.
It was pretty cool.
That's always, we ought to see those two. I've witnessed them together in person, and it's kind of comical how Rick will pull his leg, but it's absolutely fantastic. I wanted to talk about the FEMI for a couple of minutes.
Well, I was going to say, I want you to do talk about your FEMI and your issue, but why don't you just kind of give them the short version and make them come back tomorrow night at 8 p.m.
I sure will.
To see the full details on the Build a Drone Review. So he's just going to be a little teaser here, and you got to come see the whole thing tomorrow night. And then we're going to move over to we want to get Bill's opinion on the upgrades the Mavic Air 2 has received this week, with Zoom and so on. And we want to get his opinion, but he's going to give you a little teaser of what's going on with his X8 right now. But again, not the whole story. You have to go tomorrow night, 8 p.m.
Well, here's my teaser. This is all I have right now.
Oh,
okay.
Not getting many flights in with that gear, huh?
Yeah. Well, actually, I want to be truthful. I do have a second battery, so just to let everybody know.
Is it true you're going to have a third battery eventually?
Yes, and FEMI will be sending me a free battery. So if you guys want to find out why they're sending me a free battery, you guys can tune in to Rotor Talk Live tomorrow night, and I'll tell you that. Just to let you guys know this, the big thing that I want to get across to everybody is I am very impressed with FEMI support. And as I've always said, and this will be pretty much what I'm going to say for this, if you get them the information they're looking for, they will respond in kind. And, I got them everything that they were looking for. And, we'll get into more details on that tomorrow night. But
I just cover for the people. You had a connection issue. Is that the proper way to say it?
I got fail-safe return to home after 1,000 feet. It was consistent. And it happened pretty much in the same spot over in the lake. And it didn't matter whether I tried it at 100, at 200 feet. I tried another cable, the non-FEMI cable that was supplied. I did a number of combinations. But the strangest thing was I went out over 1,000 feet straight ahead of me, okay, across the lake, never had a connection issue. It was only when I went to that certain spot over in the lake over there. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow night.
And it does seem to be kind of an isolated incident. It's not a widespread problem with the FEMI, right?
Well, I think it is, Ron. There's been, in the group, there have been a lot of people. There's one guy who's actually, we've been exchanging things back and forth in there, and he's the one that gave me the advice to try the altitude in the extra cable, which I did and didn't work. He's actually sent his back as well because of the same type of issue. And there's been a lot of the comments that I'm getting back on that last video. That's what I'm getting. I'm finding out a lot of people are having that issue. And it may be, part of this, and I'll finish this segment up here with this, is, it could be specific, down to specific, not just the build date, but specific serial numbers, okay? It's like when they see that, FEMI's response was pretty much automatic. I'm getting, and they're sending me a new drone. I mean, there wasn't any hesitation, just the, lag time for email being overnight in China, but there was no hesitation. New drone, okay? And let me tell you this, guys, okay? It has to get sent out by the Postal Service because it has to have tracking, okay? And because you can't claim, it's because of customs and all this stuff. let me tell you this. You know how long it took me to fill out this customs form online, okay? And it printed up the label. It took me 2 hours to fill this out, all right?
What?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It's insane. It's insane. Well, you had to decipher, you had to know the province that they're in, that Shenzhen is in. It's Guangdong, I believe. And the address is like 3 or 4 lines long. Building 11, street 1130, it was just that. And then the options, okay? You had to be real careful what you would pick, because if you pick something, a whole bunch of other boxes would pop open. All right. So it was $56. Okay. And I didn't have a choice. I wanted to try it cheaper, but it didn't have a tracking number. And they said, in order to get your new drone sent to you, you need to provide us a tracking number. And I'm like, okay, I'm not messing around here. So, but $56 was a real kicker. But I'll spoil one of the surprises. Okay, they told me in compensation they're going to send me a new battery for that. So, and Brian Singleton said that new battery in the comments in that video cost you $56 for that new battery. But that's a good trade-off.
It is, and at least them. At least they're kind of throwing you a bone, which is kind of nice, because you don't always get that from these type of companies. So, well, we're going to follow your progress. How long it takes to get it back, and if you get a tracking number, you kind of know when it's coming. So all that'll kind of make for a good story.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I wanted to go ahead. I know I want to, and I'm chomping at the bit here with this Mavic Air too. I got it out, and I had my first test of the Zoom the other day, and I went through all of the different modes, like 1080p, 4K 30.
You have a video up on this, correct?
Yeah, I wanted to
check the video out of Bill the Drone Reviewer's channel.
Well, I went out tonight, and I needed to cool down. We had a zoning hearing meeting here locally, and that's a long story in a galaxy far away. But I needed to cool down after that. I was a little hot under the collar.
Did you need a little drone therapy?
Yes, exactly. Mr. Bill Thomas.
Bill Thomas, drone therapy.
I got to thank Bill for that name. So I needed some drone therapy. So you know what I did tonight? I got the Mavic Air 2 out and wanted to do the thumb wheel zoom. Okay. Holding the function button down and using that. And what I did was, now I did it in 1080p. And as you said in the chat, and it's right, when you get up to that 4 level, your detail isn't quite there. But it was amazing? I was 2,300 feet away. You could see, I was watching my screen recording, 2,300 feet away, and you could see the outline. You could see where I was standing at the house. You could see where Valerie was, because she was outside. Couldn't quite make my dog out. But, I mean, granted, it's it's a digital, but still, that's still pretty doggone amazing. And then I also tried out sport mode tonight too, because I wanted to see how that went, and I got it up to 42 miles an hour tonight. I was
nice. Now back to the digital zoom feature. Now I know Marcus is lucky enough to have the Mavic 2 Zoom, and he has the Anafi, which both have nice digital zooms in it. But this is your first really digital zoom drone. Is that correct, Bill?
Yeah, that's correct. And
oh, wait a minute, I'm wrong. No, we both had the Mavic Air 1, which also had digital zoom, but yes. Man, that stunk compared to what this has.
Oh, it's like I think about that, and I just want to do one of these when I'm thinking about it. And
remember, you had to use the wheel to get the zoom going, and that wheel, like, you never knew whether you were doing anything or not, because it was like a delayed reaction. And
yeah, it wasn't fluid. It wasn't smooth like it is here. I mean, it's like super smooth with this. I mean, there's no lag, there's no hesitation. You do it and it's done. I'm going to say this, and I wanted to answer your question about, if you only had to have one drone, okay.
We're going to put you in the hot seat.
I'm going to, I'll put myself in the hot seat here. It has to be the Mavic 2 Pro, and let me tell you why, okay. I went out tonight, and when I filmed, and you guys will see it, I mean, it was right near sunset. Now, we really didn't have a real picturesque sunset because it was mostly cloudy tonight. You know, and the thing is, and the thing that really frustrates me about this drone, okay, and it's the only thing that really frustrates me about this drone, is its low light capabilities, okay? It's just, you know, you have to go in and you have to tinker with settings in order to get something, especially in the low, I'm talking low light. During the day, it's fine, okay? Absolutely no qualms, no quarrels, and I agree with both of you 100%. My only little caveat, and it's kind of big for me, I'm like Ron. I like getting out there and filming these sunsets, okay? You know, when we went to Reddington Beach and did that, I mean, that was just to die for, okay? And whenever I get them over here, later on in the year, they tend to get better. Summer, the sunsets here aren't as good, but as fall hits, they start to get really good because of the position of the sun in the sky. And, you know, when I'm going out there, you know, it's like, you know, it's like, well, I wanted to get the Mavic Air 2 out because I wanted to do the thumb wheel tonight. But you know what? You know, when I get a really beautiful, and listen to this, okay? I'm going to say this, and some people might be shaking their head twice when I say this. All right, I got a better sunset video out of my Mavic Mini, and it's on my channel, okay, than I have from the Mavic Air 2. Okay, why? I don't know. Maybe, I mean, you know, obviously I was at 2.7K, you know, but and with the Air, you know, I was I was at 4K 30, and what can I say? You know, it's like apples and oranges kind of a thing, but you know, it was just a stellar video. And my only thing, and you're right, Marcus, to mention about the Mavic Mini. It's just like it's been sitting over there. I can't tell you the last time I flew it. Don't let it hear me right now, or it's gonna take off on its own and leave the house. You know, I can't tell you the last time I flew it. It's because, yeah, and I'll say this, like I think one of you guys said, I'm having too much fun with a Mavic Air 2. I mean, it's just, you know, what am I gonna grab right now? 9 times out of 10, I'm grabbing the Mavic Air 2. You know, so you know, what can I say? One of the things, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow night, and I hope you guys will be able to join me, because we're going to talk about, there's 2 things on the show that I want to talk about tomorrow night, about the Mavic 3 and when it will be coming. Okay, and there's no information on this. This is just, you know, putting some pieces of the puzzle together. And the other thing is all this talk about DJI and what's going on with that. I know, hey, had an article about that, and we're going to expand upon that tomorrow night, because I think there's a lot to talk about with that. There's a lot of rich conversation I think we can have. But, you know, with this Mavic Air 2, okay, DJI is, and you guys know, and I've said this all along, all right, they are smart in how they handle things. I mean, they are super smart, all right? And here, you know, right before, you know, we're all thinking, we're all chomping at the bit, we're getting ready, we want to see that firmware update for the smart controller. So what does DJI do? Okay, they give us a smart update and give us digital zoom. Marcus, like you said, one of those things we didn't know we needed until they came out with it. And now it's like, you're not taking that digital zoom away from me, are you? You know, it's like you didn't know you need it until you get it. And then now it's like, yeah, we have it. And see, this is the thing. This is what DJI is doing here. And I'm kind of setting up tomorrow's show in a way. You know, they're giving us this digital zoom. And, you know, maybe September we might see, towards the end of September, we might see that firmware update for the smart controller. I don't know. But it's the timing of things, okay? Because, you know, I know myself, after a major firmware update like the last one we just had with the Air, okay, there's a lot of goodies to play around with, okay? You know, there's a lot of different settings for the zoom to be able to go out and do this and try that, okay? I want to get out there and try APAS, because I did a great test on the first Mavic Air out in front of the house with my garbage cans in APAS. You got to see that thing, that test that I did. It worked flawlessly, okay? It was perfect. And, you know, this is the thing here with this. They gave us a lot to digest, okay? And then when you get the smart controller, guess what? It's going to be the same thing. So it's like these firmware updates, in a way, it's kind of like, okay, it kind of makes the Mavic Air 2 brand new all over again. Because what drone do you want to get? Do you want to reach for your Mavic 2 Pro? Do you want to reach for your Phantom 4 Pro? No, you want to reach for the Mavic Air 2.
I got a question for both of you. Have you guys tried to do a dolly zoom yet with Mavic Air 2? Now, if you saw my last video, I tried and I failed miserably.
No, well, you say you failed miserably because the camera kept going down, but the first couple seconds, it looks great. Before that camera goes down, the dolly zoom looks great, Marcus.
Well, it did, but Chad B has the answer to that. If you look at his most recent video, anybody in the chat, go check that out. Chad B is the name of his channel. And the secret is
that point of interest, right?
Yeah, you turn on point of interest, and that keeps that gimbal pointed right at whatever your subject is. And then you can do that dolly zoom, and it works.
So there's a good tip for you. That's everybody's assignment in chat, to get out there and get a good dolly zoom with your Mavic Air 2 using that point of interest feature.
Have you guys tried it?
I want to put Bill in the hot seat again real fast here. He's like testifying before Congress here, but I'll give you time to ponder this over. Okay, you've been through a lot of firmware updates with your DJI drones over the year. You've owned both the Mavics and the Mavic 1, Mavic 2, the Phantom. You've gone through a lot of them. Have you ever seen, a week like last week where an app and a firmware update came through that improved the DJI product that much in that short of a period of time? Has there been anything like this before?
No, not. They've had this before, but Ron, it's been like, okay, let's say they would put something for the DJI Go 4 app, and then it would be weeks later, another update would come, say for the Mavic Pro, or the other Mavic Air, or say the Spark or something. Okay, going back in time, but this short together, no.
I mean, so many showstoppers in 1 week.
I mean,
not little behind the scenes showstoppers in 1 week.
I mean, when you think about it, when you think of what they did with the DJI Fly app, okay, in and of itself, that's enough to mess around with for a couple of weeks, all right? And then here, they come out with this unbelievable firmware update for the Mavic Air 2, and it's like, wow. And like you said, the timing of this, I mean, it just was like boom, and then boom, right away. I've got to think, and I will say this, and I think probably people will probably agree with me, okay? They're getting the Fly app ready for the smart controller because, and I think Lauren's probably mentioned it, and I know some other people have mentioned it too. I think Lon Dennard's mentioned it, okay? The problem has been with the code base, all right? Getting the DJI Fly app onto the smart controller, which is an Android device, okay? And I think that's where they were having a lot of issues. I think they're kind of fine-tuning it right now and going through some beta. I didn't even know that anybody that's beta testing it right now, but I've got to think they're probably in that stage of going through beta testing with this because, everybody's just like super chomping at the bit. And that also begs the question, and I'm going to throw this up. Here's a question for both of you gentlemen, okay? You've seen the new Matrice, and Lauren knows about this, and there's a smart controller that comes with that and everything, okay? Is there going to be a new smart controller that comes out? And I'm sure Marcus would probably just get a brick wall and hit his head against it.
Well, Bill, there already is a new smart controller out. It came out a while back. Mm-hmm. But it is the commercial version.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, that's the answer that Lauren would give you. So I'm speaking. Yeah. I'm doing what Lauren would do.
I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here because, what if, okay, on top of this, DJI decides to say, come, October, we're going to put an early Christmas gift for you guys out. Okay. And it's going to be a brand new smart controller. And here's the thing, because I've heard some people talk about that in the groups, all right? And my whole thing about it is this, all right? It's hard for me to think what else I would need on that smart controller because it has so much already. I would say this, for me, the only thing I wish was better, okay? Now, I got to say this. When I'm doing a screen recording, okay, and on the Mavic Air 2, all right, my Note 10 is a gem, all right? It picks up every word I say. I don't have to have an external microphone on here at all. It's crystal clear, okay? I don't even touch it when I'm editing it. The sound is just so good, all right? Now, when you're using a smart controller and you're doing a screen recording, it records your audio because there's a mic in there. Well, let me tell you this. If you don't have the smart controller up here like this, when you're doing a screen recording, it's going to sound real muffled, like you're about 20 feet away if you're holding it down there like this.
So the other thing that I would add to that, Bill, is that, it's what, over a year old now. Mm-hmm. So a faster processor, right? So that when we're running things like a screen recorder at the same time as the app, that it speeds things up. That would seem to be a reasonable thing that they would do with it. Maybe a lot of people have asked for a little bit bigger screen. I know Philly Drone Life, Mikey would like to have a little bit bigger screen. And then a lot of people are asking for being able to go live directly through the smart controller. Now, would that require some kind of cellular connection directly from the controller, not going through your phone? It probably would, right? Otherwise, you'd either that or you'd have to be someplace where you could connect to Wi-Fi. But those are things that a lot of people have talked about.
And I got to say this, and I know our good friend Mel really put in a yeoman's work in trying to get that to work. I did too. I spent a lot of time with DJI support on trying to get YouTube Live running on that, and it was bottleneck after bottleneck after bottleneck with that. I mean, it was just, you run into nothing but constant roadblocks. For some reason, they just don't. The code in there, it's just like it doesn't want to work. I mean, it's just like you had to go through your Gmail account and make sure you were logged on to Gmail, and then it kept at and what it stated on there isn't where it was at. It was so super confusing, number one, and number two, when you got it to work, the next time you went out, it was you're rolling the dice to see if it was going to work again. So it was just one of those things. And he's right, because I love being able to do that. I love being able to go out there live. The only drone that I can really kind of do that with now, well, I'll say there's two of them. I can do it with a Mavic 2 Pro, and I can do it with the Phantom 4 Pro, but I got to be using my iPad. And I'm giving serious consideration to ask for my Christmas gift this year to get an iPad 5 to upgrade it.
Hey, so our friend Ron Brown is going to tell us that there might be another version of the iPad Mini coming out.
Hey, really? Yeah, by Christmas you may be getting the iPad Mini 6.
6, okay. Because I'll tell you what, I'll wait for that, because I need that faster That's one of the things that you can tell, and I got to say this, and this is something that bears repeating. And I know I got this from our good friend Rick Smith. All right, when you're running a tablet, all right, you want to have it as bare bones as possible. All right, meaning you don't want to have Facebook on there. You don't want to have email set up. You don't want to burden that processor, because you're overburdening that processor. It's going to cause a lot of issues. It'll cause, especially if you're trying to do a live stream, there's going to be some lag in the FPV. It's just going to get real ugly in a hurry. Okay. Well, I use my iPad Mini all the time, especially like at night. Okay. How I watch all your guys' videos. Okay. I'm sitting there at night in bed with my iPad Mini watching your guys' videos. Okay. That's most of the time when I watch them. Okay. And, I have stuff on there. Of course, I got Facebook, I got Twitter, it's loaded up. The thing is, what Rick was saying, get one. Don't put anything on there except your DJI Go apps. Okay, that's it. Don't put, and most of us would like to be able to do that, but practicality wise, that's probably not possible. But I will say this, if the 6 comes on and it will have a killer processor, because it will, because Apple will do that, that'll kind of be of a slam dunk. Now you want to minimize having as many apps on there as possible. And the other thing is you shut down a lot of those apps. All right. It's real easy. It's just like the iPhone, you swipe up and you close them all. All right. And if you close them all, you're not overburdening the processor. Now I actually this was last year, I was flying the Phantom 4 Pro back, and it started landing. And then this was on a day when it was literally the air temperature was 105 out. I got a big fat red warning on there that said your iPad mini is shutting down, and it did. Okay. There was but thank God I was already in the process of return to home and landing, because I completely lost the screen. It was done. There was anything I could do. So,
Right. Well, remember the iPad Mini 4 is like a 3 or 4 year old device at this point, where all the tips you gave are great tips, but who knows by this, if the Mini 6 does arrive, you may not have to do all this stuff. This process may be more than robust to run any app plus screen record and run all this other stuff. Hey, by the time we've been talking about the smart controller and all this stuff, chat for a long time did not talk about any stuff we were talking about. Lauren got them all talking about the rumored DJI Mavic, we'll call it FPV drone, Cinemoop drone, or whatever. That's all they were talking about. We were going on and on about the smart the smart controller and so on. Bill, from your sources, do you have any anything you can tell us about a possible DJI FPV Cinemoop style drone coming maybe this fall? A lot of people say that the Mavic 3 is not coming. That will be next year. What's coming is this little FPV type drone.
Well, we'll talk about the Mavic 3 tomorrow night, and we'll lay down some good talk about that. But with this Cinemoop, okay, it would make perfect sense for DJI to do that. They've
already got some pieces in place.
Exactly. And I know, and I've heard a lot from probably my number one expert on that, Mr. Koopy. Okay. They have all the parts. Okay. They're the ones, they supply just about everybody with those parts. Okay. So for them to do it, it makes it a very logical step. Now I'm going to follow up with what Ken said on the show when we had him on last week. Okay. And he talked about modularity, okay, meaning, you guys, I don't know if you guys know my dad taught me how to solder, let's say a long time ago. I won't tell you how many years, okay? And soldering, it's different today, but it still takes some skill. You got to have good eyesight. You got to have steady hands. It requires a lot. And, the whole thing about FPV is this, okay? You're going to crash. Okay. That's just a foregone conclusion. It'll happen. You ask Koopy, you ask Ken Dono, you ask anybody that does it, you're going to crash, and you're going to have to fix your drone. Okay.
Bill, it's an old saying, if you're not crashing, you're not flying.
If you're not crashing, you're not flying. With this, and I think Ken brought this up last week, is, you can replace something. It's modular. It's like literally plug and play. So you don't have to worry about soldering. These modules will go together for you easily, and you can get this set up. And, combine that, DJI already has that digital FPV system out there. I'm not all hep on, how all the pieces parts works kind of a thing. And I know Ken's got himself immersed in that, and, more power to him for something like that. Every time I've tried to get an understanding of it, it's blown me away.
I would just kind of want to put kind of in a nutshell for me personally, and I'll bet you guys are kind of in the same boat. And Ron discovered this himself. Really steep learning curve, right? Trying to because there's all that software, you have to program everything, plus all the repairs, etc. but I freaking love watching the YouTube videos, and I love watching what those guys can do with them, particularly since the video has gotten so much better. And, you know, the future of videography with drones may be very well be that style of drones. I mean, never completely, but it's, I just don't think it's something for me. I struggle to fly these GPS drones. So I know that it just wouldn't be something that would work for me. I'd be crashing it all the time. That said, I really enjoy watching it, and I'm glad that it's out there.
Hey, Marcus and Bill, you see Lauren's comment?
Yeah, I saw that. It's not a rumor anymore, so it's coming.
Yeah.
You know, to speak to what you said, Marcus, you know, it's not right for me, and I'll tell you why it's not right for me, okay? I can do the programming because that's what I've done all my adult life, has been a programmer, okay, in one form or another. So that doesn't bother me. You know, figuring out all the pieces and parts. And by the way, a lot of this, you know, the communication protocols, you have to have a ham radio license for a lot. You know, I was surprised, you know, when Ed Ricker started getting into FPV and racing drones, you know, he put out there, he got his ham radios. I'm like, okay, why? You know, and I asked him, I said, I gave him some 7.3s, and that's just a greeting, ham radio greeting, and put my ID up there. I said, so are you getting into it? He said, well, he had to get into it because of the bands that he was going to be transmitting on, you know, to fly his drone. FCC requires that. So it's something that's a little different. Here's the thing for me, and this is the thing for me, okay? My spatial awareness kind of a thing, putting goggles on, okay? I can't do that anymore, okay? It's just not going to happen for me. I mean, I can't do that. It's just, you know, I have to see things with my own eyes, okay? I can't see through goggles like that. It's just my spatial orientation, forget it. It's you know, I'm 62, guys. You know, it's not there. Maybe 30 years ago, I probably would have been okay with it, but not anymore. It's not going to happen.
So it sounds like you two guys will not be getting this product, but you will be keeping an eye on it and reporting on it, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. You know,
and really be enjoying some of the stuff that people do with it.
Oh yeah, see, and that, you know, it's like I saw this one guy, and he was like the world champion at this, and he was pretty bold with what the video I saw, flying in and out of a train, going at high speed, and I was just boggled my mind. I mean, I don't know how many millions of views he's had on that. It's just crazy what a lot of these guys can do. But you know, it's like one of those things, Marcus, like you said, you know, there is a steep learning curve involved in being able to just, you know, not only program it, but to learn how to fly it, to learn how to fly its different modes and everything. And it's just, well, the other thing too is, I don't think, you know, and it was on Bill's show, and we had Koopy on, and I was asking John, I said, you know, is there anything out there to learn how to do this? And he said he struggled to have an answer for that because there's no real resource to go out there, you know, like a Drones for Dummies 101 kind of a thing. There's really no good books. He said there are some books, but they're old and they're outdated. So there's really not a lot out there. So you're really dependent upon other drone reviewers.
YouTube,
YouTube for learning something like this versus, you know, you go out and you type in DJI Mavic Air 2, how to do a firmware update, okay? You know, you'll get YouTube videos come up, but you'll get the website come up with verbal instructions on how to do this. You know, there's a lot of books out there on drones and how to fly them and how to do things, okay? But on FPV, on racing, it's just like there's not a lot out there.
Yeah, well, this just my opinion, but if DJI really cracks this, and I don't think they're, you know, I wouldn't think they're marketing maybe at the hardcore, you know, FPV people that are building all their 5-inch. They were but they were discussing chat was going to be a 4 or 5-inch. But I think they want to get people that are FPV curious, really haven't, pulled the trigger yet, or maybe they just have like a, kind of like a tool FPV drone, and this will be their first real drone, but they don't want to do any bonding or programming. They didn't want to stick modules together. They just want to open the box up, have something pre-bound, the controller's pre-bound, the goggles are pre-bound. They don't need beta flight. They can just tune it right in the app, like kind of, we're used to tuning or y'all and stuff like that. They want to, I think people are looking for an out of box, like almost an Apple experience. You open the box and it just works. There's no configuring anything. Basically you're flying, 5 minutes after you have the batteries powered up or whatever. And I think that's what they're going for, at least initially, with this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are trying to steal the hardcore guys.
I think you're right, Ron. And the reason I think you're right is, I'll do an analogy here. Okay. Ham radio, unless it gets new blood and gets people in their 20s and 30s interested in it, okay, 30 and 40 years from now, there's not going to be a lot of ham radio operators around, okay? And, they're trying to make some things, and they're trying to do some things and make it more friendly, and they're trying to bring a lot.
When was the heyday of the ham operators? What was the goal there?
In the 1950s and 60s.
Okay.
It really started to get real popular. And what's amazing to me is how they found stations back in the day, because now the popular way of finding an active station right now, especially on HF, which is the short wave, which is the long distance, okay, you see waterfall patterns, okay? There's the receivers have, and you can tell when there's a waterfall pattern, somebody's actively on that station. So you could, and you go out and you do your greeting out there to see if somebody's out there. And to put this analogy, back to the FPV here, all right, if DJI makes it more user friendly, I think you hit the nail on the head, Ron. Okay, they want, this won't be the kind of, if it is a modular concept and ready to fly, bound out of the box, like you said, this isn't going to attract a few hardcores may get it to review it, but it's really going to hit on those, I've always wanted to try this, and it's all set. It's all ready to go. It's an Apple experience, let's get it. It's going to get people interested in the hobby. And it's like, okay, we'll talk about the Mavic Mini, all right? So many people. I mean, it's crazy. I'll tell you this. The Mavic Mini group that I have, it's not unusual for me to see 50 or 60 or 70 people joining every day, because it's so popular, and it's an entry-level type of drone. It attracts a lot of people they've never handled a quad before. They've never handled a controller before. They've never shot video before, and they're doing it now, and they're doing it with ease with the Mavic Mini, okay? And here's the thing for them. DJI does this right, okay? They'll make it so you'll get those people who've never done it before, get on board with them, and hence you've created another market. And they're so good at doing something like that.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, when and if this does come out, and who's going to be marketed at, and we'll go from there. I mean, I'm kind of interested in this a little bit. I've always been curious about FPV, but I just don't. I just enjoy the camera drones so much. I don't want to put them all to the side to learn all this FPV stuff and not be able to fly what I really like. And if this thing's just an FPV drone where you're supposed to fly fast or whatever, I won't be. But if it's a Cinewoop, which means it's gonna excel at the camera, it's gonna fly real smooth to get that kind of cinematic video. I can get much closer to things than I can with my FPV drones. And even I could see a future where you're flying, like say an Air 2 or a Mavic 2 Pro or any Mavic, and you have like kind of your long water shots, and then in that video mix in like a FPV drone of something real up close or whatever. Like say for instance, I'm at the marina and I've got that kind of long shots of the marina and the sunset, but maybe with a little Cinewoop, I'm kind of whizzing between the boats and the park boats in the marina with nobody on them.
Yeah, well, it's like Okay, I'll give you an example. You know, I just saw some video of people filming. It was here in Florida, and I forget what the event was, but it was done in such a way that you could tell, you knew it was a drone, and whoever was flying it, you could tell that they were familiar with drone rules, because you know they were on the outskirts of the boats, okay, and then they would come back in for another pass, and they would hit the other outskirts of these boats, okay, together. There was a bunch of boats out there. I don't know what they were doing, but you could tell that they knew the rules, that you know they weren't going to fly directly over people, okay. And you know, I don't know if it was a drone, you know, and I saw the video, and if I get a chance, I'll put it out there. It was just, I really liked the way that it was done. Somebody was following the rules, because so many times, and it's just like it never fails every day in one of the groups. Somebody's going to go out there and put one of these videos out there. They're either flying over people, they're flying too high. You know, it's just one of these things, and you got to take it down, and you got to play bad cop when you're doing that stuff. But it's just like, you have to. You don't have a choice, you know. But this really impressed me.
So what the point that I was going to make is, probably for the three of us, never say never till we see what the drone is. In other words, if it had some sort of a GPS component and maybe allowed me to do some kind of close quarters flying that I can't do with my other drones right now, hey, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't think so, but I am smart enough to never say never.
Well, you know,
and I agree with Marcus. And before, I think we said this before the show came on, and you'll remember this too, Bill. When they first started talking about the Mavic Air 2, which is, you know, kind of my favorite drone of the year, back in the winter when we first started talking about this thing, I was telling you guys, I don't want this thing. You know, what do I need within the Wi-Fi drone for? You know, and I thought it'd be $1,000 and be a Wi-Fi drone. I said, I don't need anything like that, you know. And then, you know, then we find out it's OcuSync 2. Then we find out it's only $799, and that kind of changes my, you know, opinion, you know, totally. And then I actually get the thing, and it performs better than you could have ever imagined. You know, so again, never say never, because February 1st, I told you I would never buy the Air 2.
Well, you know, it's like, and you're so right, Ron, and you know, your point about camera drones and FPV drones, kind of a thing. Okay, there is still so much. You know, a lot of people will talk about, oh, you know, you're limited with the technology and what you can do now, and you know, and all this kind of stuff and everything. Just wait, folks. Okay. Just
there's a couple of guys in the chat are saying the same thing, that you know, there's going to be this mix of you know, camera drones and FPV drones. They're going to be merging even closer. Recovery drone makes a good point for you, Bill. If you got those Epson mono, I don't even know how to say it, glasses, where you see, you know, it's a little window in the glasses.
Oh, okay. You can see out through the glass itself.
See what's going on, you know, in front of you. So you could actually do line of sight and FPV at the same time. But of course, I think those glasses are more than you know, high price guys.
More than the Mavic Air 2. And that's like a no-go. But you know what, Ron and Marcus, you know, to the whole point of all this, okay, there's going to be enough technology come down the line just on regular camera drones here for us that's going to keep us occupied for years. Okay,
there you go.
There's so much. Okay, you know, and you know, we're going to talk about the Mavic 3 tomorrow night, but just, you know, the future. Okay, DJI has definitely said the future is smaller. Okay, is compact. Okay, they've made a commitment to that Mavic type of airframe. All right, and my gosh, you can't beat that airframe. All right, it does its job. It's like, okay, you know, and I'll never forget this quote here. Okay, you know, Henry Ford said, you know, you can have a Model T any color you want as long as it's black. Okay, and you know, here's the thing with us. You know, the Mavic Air series or the Mavic series. Okay, they're gonna look alike. Which, you know what, it's absolutely fine with me, because I'll tell you what, bang for bang, dollar for dollar for what you spend for these drones from DJI, okay, I say it's worth every penny of my investment, okay? When I go out there, and I would say one of my greatest ones was when Ron and I were at the beach, in Reddington Beach, and I filmed that sunset out there, and I did some hyperlapses, okay? I'm hard-pressed to find better footage. I use that if you watch the end of my videos, okay, for my last 20 seconds.
I know it. I recognize
my B-roll, okay, right at the end of my videos all the time because they're so good. I mean, it was just, that sun, the light, everything. It was just so incredible. It really was.
Bill, Marcus has to go. It's walking time for him. So good night, Marcus. Enjoy your walk, and hopefully see you tomorrow night.
All right, gentlemen. Absolutely. We'll talk to you later, and have a good rest of the show.
Okay, you too, Marcus. Have a good walk.
Have a good walk.
Thank you.
Hey, Bill, you see Leonard's comment in the screen here about how he tried in the new Mavic Air 2 update. They have an FPV mode in there now. I knew it was there, but I didn't get to test it out yet. Have you?
No, I haven't tested that either. Yeah, I'm going to be doing. I want to be testing APAS. I haven't tested that yet, and I'm real excited about that. And I want to try that FPV mode as well. I'm real excited about that. And it's like this, okay? For me, Ron, how I do my videos, okay? I usually don't go over 10 minutes or so. And, because I think it's a lot. I want people to digest that 10 minutes, okay? I want them to get that and be able to go out there and duplicate that, whatever I did. So, and that's why I like keeping mine in smaller chunks. Now, I know a lot of times, Marcus does great videos. He gets everything in there, okay? And that works for him, and that works for his subscribers. That's good. But for me, it's like for me, I like to do those like probably no more than 10-minute chunks because I think, for me, that's how I process. If it's more than 10 minutes, it's just like, wait a minute, I got to stop and look at this again tomorrow.
I'm like you. I like to focus on kind of one or two things at a time also. Yeah. Hey, you mentioned the hyperlapse a few minutes ago. What did you think of them adding? Well, let me back up and let people, tell people don't really know. When the Air 2 first came out, it had hyperlapse, but it only had 8K and 1080p. And the 8K didn't even work right at first, but they got that fixed. But it was kind of like, why did we go all the way from 1080p all the way to 8K? But now they've added 4K and 8K, which I think is a nice addition because I don't really think I need to use 8K, but I didn't want 1080p, so 4K is the one I'm going to kind of use as my go-to.
That's what I was going to say, Ron. That 4K sounds so much better because I recently I did try the 8K. Okay, I didn't publish a video on it, and it's better than it was because I tried it when it first came, and when it was not right. You can tell it was off. They've corrected it, and it's working. Okay, but I didn't put a video on it, but this 4K, I want to do a video on it because I really think, it's just so crisp and clear from what I've seen, the videos that I've seen from it. So I'm real anxious to get out there and try that.
Yeah, me too. And I try, like I don't think I made a video about it yet, but and I don't know what update this came in, but when the Mavic Air 2 added the kind of the waypoint hyperlapse mode where you could pick the points and it would fly to them. I tried that, and of course I did it in 1080p, and it looks good. There's nothing wrong with it, but it would have been nice if it had been in 4K.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that the waypoints on the Mavic 2 Pro. Okay, that I ate that up. Okay, I had so much fun with that, and I spent, I did a series of like 4, 5, 6 videos on it because it was so rich and there was so much on there. And it's a lot of fun, and it's good. What waypoints are good for is if you're going to do the same type of flying at the same place all the time, for one reason or another. If you're using it for commercial work, you could set that up and you let it go and your hands are off the sticks and it's doing everything for you. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah. And what did you think of them adding the, what is it, as 45 waypoint mode to the Mavic Air 2? So many waypoints that if you did all those waypoints, you actually have to save it and put the second battery in.
Yeah, I mean, it's just yeah, you're not going to have enough time to finish those waypoints on there. I mean, and I think again, with the whole thing for waypoints for me, I think it's a cool feature. I think it's really neat, but I think it's more geared towards, and the more I think about it, more geared towards a professional who's going to the same place to try to get the same shot each time. And could do it automatically. Let's say, for example, like our good friend Original Dobo Ken, if he's programmed in so many feet from a house, let's say he's doing it outside and wants to get some effects. Okay, he could use something like waypoints, and let's say, for example, he has another camera up there, like maybe his Sony or his camera or some Canon or something, and want to get some shots at the additional time, that drone's flying its predefined route and is doing what it's going to do, based on the input that you've given it. So, that's a win-win kind of a thing for me.
Definitely. I mean, these are all, I haven't touched any of this in my videos, these little points we're talking about, but these are all, again, this I call it the greatest firmware update of all time. I mean,
you're probably right. I mean,
these are good. These are good little features, but we're not even talking about them because of the showstoppers like the zoom and the improved battery meter and some of the again the APAS things. There's such home runs that we don't want to talk about this other stuff, which normally they would be home run features
absolutely.
In a lesser update. I mean, I do think this is all just basically they gave us the Mavic Air 2 Pro for free with these firmware updates. All I could think of is they really just trying to, this is a shot across the bow at all tell,
oh yeah.
To put the Evo 2, in the rear view mirror.
Yeah, this is Christmas in August. I mean, if you own a Mavic Air 2, it really is. And one of the things, and here's taking care of the props in sport mode was stellar. Okay, now I've tried sport mode multiple times and I never got the props in the shots. But I'll tell you what, Ron. Okay, as much as I like the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0,
you're a fan of motors, so you know about props in the shot.
I know that's the number one gripe about that drone is props in the shots.
Fly backwards a lot, Bill.
You fly backwards a lot, or I know what speed. If the wind is calm on a certain day, I know if I go about 15, no more than 17 miles an hour, those props won't get in the shot if it's a calm day outside. Okay, but if it's windy, forget it. It's like all bets are off or something like that. So if it's a windy day, I'm backing up, getting those shots. I mean, that's the only way to keep props out of there. Yeah. Other than that, it's like it has the best camera ever on a consumer drone, but yet you get those stupid props, the shots. And I've adjusted the gimbal and it's worked, but again, if it's windy, it throws everything off kilter. There's nothing you can do about it, and it's just one of those things. But right. It's like pry my cold dead hands off my Phantom 4 Pro.
Right. And the props in the shot for the Mavic Air 2, that's a nice addition. Again, I don't think it wasn't much of a problem for me, but it is nice to put that in. But the home run to me was to have the gimbal not pitch downwards when you excel quickly in sport mode. And it's not just sport mode. I've seen it happen in normal mode too if you're flying into a stiff wind. And that's my big complaint on the Mavic 2 Pro, that if I'm flying in a stiff wind and I accelerate into that wind, in sport mode or normal mode, that gimbal's going downward.
Gimbal's going down.
If it's windy enough, it may go down on me constantly.
Well, yeah, the original Mavic Air had that problem, and I know where I first saw it was one of Billy's videos. I was like, whoa, when that thing was going down. And then, I actually talked to him about that, and he was telling me about that. And I was just like, wow. I said, that's incredibly fast and it's cool, but if that gimbal's doing that, your video's useless.
And that never happened on the Phantoms.
Yeah, that never happened on the Phantoms. Yeah, in sport mode, never had a problem with that.
Yeah, the great Ethan Mitchell's in the chat here, and he's saying that he wishes DJI would put 10-bit D-Log on the Mavic Air too. I wish so too, Ethan, but I don't know if that's in the realm of possibility on that camera and sensor.
Well, like you said, Ron, listing out everything that they've done on this firmware update, I can't remember. The other thing I'll say, I can't remember a firmware update that's incorporated as much major features on a drone than this one. Okay, this is a showstopper. I mean, there's enough on here. Like I said, DJI could not release a thing the rest of the year, which they probably won't drone wise, and I'll be fine because there's so much stuff. It's so rich. There's so much to do with the Mavic Air 2, and it's like like Marcus said. And here's my thing. All right, okay. No disregard to the smart controller, but you know what? How quick I decided I was going out to fly tonight. In 5 minutes, I was out there hitting the takeoff button, Ron. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about all this smart control. To me, one of the things one of the big features is you wouldn't think about is it launches so quickly with the smart controller. And now they added that feature in the updates that came out around March, where if you boot the drone up first, the smart controller will boot right into the DJI Go 4 app. It won't go to the main screen.
Oh, I love that. There's no hesitation
up in the air quickly.
No hesitation. And you know what else is nice? And what they've done with that update is this, which is really nice because, flipping, it used to be what you used to have to do before they did this update was, if let's say I had it bound to the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0, you would have to rebind it to the Mavic 2 Pro or the Mavic 2 Zoom. All right. And it was a real pain in the butt. You don't have to do that anymore. Right. It was just like, had to get out the pin and hit the button on the Phantom 4 Pro to bind it and stuff. It was a royal pain. You don't have to do that anymore. It's just so nice.
Good. Yeah, and you asked about the smart controller. Before there's a smart controller too, they need to make sure that every OcuSync 2 drone they currently make and make in the future are work with the smart controller 1. But their big thing to me is more on the software side than the hardware side. I mean, now again, you have the hottest drone right now is the Mavic Air 2. And it's not ready yet for the smart controller. So again, the software side, like, don't give me new hardware until you get all your OcuSync 2 drones working on the current smart controller.
Oh, absolutely. And they'll get it done in short order. And when that gets on there, that's just going to be wow. I mean, how can you, Ron? It's just like every time I find myself wanting to get out there and shoot something, whether it's not necessarily for the channel, but just to go out and fly, I'm grabbing the Mavic Air 2. It used to be I'd grab the Mavic 2 Pro, but I'm grabbing the Mavic Air 2. I mean, it's just like it's natural.
Yeah, I'm. If you heard at the beginning, I picked the Mavic Air 2 as the drone I don't use, and I did it from the heart rather than the mind. So the mind may tell me the Mavic 2 Pro for the 10-bit color and the one in sensor, but I actually have more fun out in the field flying the Mavic Air, the Air 2. Actually, more of a fun factor thing, And
I agree. I think it is more fun. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy that.
Hey, we got Above and Beyond Drones in here, Jim Boyd in here, and he's you get a little less for the dollars or whatever. But I want to comment. Jim posted a video last week. Bill, you got to get your Florida people in line down there. A man came out from a neighbor of Jim's came out, and he said stuff he can't even say on TV, and he really got after Jim, and all Jim did was fly his drone.
Oh,
yeah, it was definitely a R-rated type video, and it was somebody just a couple houses away from poor Jim, and I don't think Jim was doing anything wrong except flying his drone.
Gosh, well, I know,
I mean, to the point of threatening to beat him up, threatening to kill him. I mean, it was like terroristic or whatever.
Oh my God!
In nature, yeah.
Well, see, I learned my lesson early on. When I was just a newbie, okay, and I was flying over the neighborhood. I was flying over the houses, but not over the sidewalks, everybody said, don't fly over people. So, okay, I'm flying over houses. Okay. But then, I would get all these people come up to me. Now, this was when I was doing it from my front yard, and I was taking off from my driveway. And I told Valerie, I says, you know what? I'm done with flying in front. Says it's going to be in the back from now on. So that ended that. But that was early on. That was back in 2017. And that's why I've been flying in that backyard ever since. And see, that's one thing I've never had an issue with, okay? Because I will stop at the edge of the lake, okay? I don't fly over those houses, at either corner. My limits are that lake. Now, they're building new houses down around that other end of the lake that I go to. I'll go over those all day long, especially in the evening because nobody's there. So, I'm not flying over anybody with something like that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that's something I feel for Jim, and I know Jim's a completely responsible pilot. Okay. He knows his stuff. He knows what he's doing. And I want to see that video. That's just, that's just crazy. Vicious.
Yeah. Yeah. Just go to his channel. It's a recent video. He right here, he's commenting vicious neighborhood. And I don't know where Jim lives in Florida. And I'm just giving you a hard time about
it. Yeah,
this.
Jim lives on the Space Coast.
I'm sure we got worse people in New Jersey, than you got down there. But it's a shame. And I'm like you. Well, I tend to not even fly, from my house at all, unless I'm flying something like, the Tello or whatever. Oh, speaking of the Tello, have you been reading this stuff about the Tello Talent? I think they're calling it. They had an app update a week or two ago, and they kept mentioning in the app update about the Tello Talent.
Wow.
Has anything come across your radar about and the best guess is that maybe some kind of an educational drone, maybe like something you could program, but that's just all, that's all speculation, but nobody really knows anything about this Tello Talent that's mentioned in the liner notes of the app update that hit, I'm going to say maybe 10 days ago.
That's real interesting. I haven't heard a thing about that.
Are you a Tello owner, Bill?
I was.
Oh, okay.
I had one for a while. And, the funny thing about that one was, the thing that impressed me the most about that was the still pictures from it. Their still pictures were fantastic from the Tello. I really, really like them. Video, you just open up, do what our friend Brian Singleton does with some of his drones that he gets. Put some in the trash can. I mean,
yeah. How about when he got that SEMA recently, and after flight, he just like tossed it on the ground a couple times.
Oh yeah, and that's the reason I love Brian. It's just like he doesn't mince any words when he talks, and he doesn't mince any words about his reviews. Okay, if he thinks it's garbage, it's going in the garbage, and you're going to witness.
He calls it the Tello. He has a Tello. He calls it the Tello turret. First time he flew, he lost his tree. He had to climb down as a backman. But really, I mean, the Tello's a fine little drone for the price of whatever.
For what you get for it, and for an very entry level kind of a thing, and especially for maybe a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, it's a perfect drone. It really is.
Yeah,
you really can't ask for better than that.
I mean, I'm just surprised we never saw a Tello 2 where maybe it was the specs were upgraded a little bit. Did you think there would be a Tello 2 by this point?
Well, yeah, I would think that DJI would have done something with Rise because that's who actually makes it in using DJI components. I think they would have done something by now. I mean, it's been out for a while, at least 2, if not 3 years. So yeah, I would have thought that they would have upgraded it by now.
So yeah, I mean, you talk about smart control. You know what I'm thinking about? Don't tell anybody this. I'm thinking. I don't know why you said that. I'm thinking about buying going on eBay and buying a used Mavic 2 standard controller because I want to do some of the stuff like you said about live streaming stuff that you can't do with the smart controller. Because as you folks all know, with Bill's help, I bought the Mavic 2 Pro with a smart controller kit. So I saved the bundle by not buying it separate. But and what I'm thinking is, like if the Mavic 3 does come out, someday, or say early next year, and I want to get rid of my Mavic 2 Pro at that point to make room, get some money up, and I want to keep my smart controller. Nobody kind of wants to buy a drone without a controller, right? So this will actually help me out at that time of sale. I'm maybe overthinking because the Smart Controller 2 could be out at that time, and I will just sell this whole thing as a bundle. But if it's not out, I want to hold on to the Smart Controller, and nobody's going to give you much anything for a drone without a controller.
Oh yeah. Well, Ken Dono told me, he said one of the biggest mistakes he made was when he got the Smart Controller. He sold his controller for his Mavic 2 Zoom, and he said Bill, that was stupid. Yeah. He said he should have never sold it. And
how hard is it to bind a DJI standard controller with a drone that it doesn't come?
Oh, it's
easy.
It's easy. Yeah. All you really got to do is get it into the mode, activate it, and you got to hit the pin on the side of the drone where one of the ports. I think the port is it's not the one where the SD card is. It's on the other side. And it's like this. And Rick Smith, he did a video on it. He hit it so hard, he broke the inside of it. So he had to take the drone apart. Of course, he's an electrical engineer. He can fix those kind of things, and he had to do it because he pushed that pin in too hard.
Wow.
But it's real easy to do that.
Wow, that's good to know. Well, listen, I know we've kept you in here for a while. It's almost 10:30. I know you're working from home, but you're still working. So one more time, I want to pump Bill the Drone Reviewer, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night. We're going to get into his problems with the FEMI, his connection problems, his return issues, and we're going to touch on the latest Mavic 3 rumors. And I saw Drone DJ had some today. But don't forget, Coast to Coast Drones at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday night. We're going to do a kind of a versus the FPV digital people against the FPV analog people. And Bill Thomas, I'd be kind of refereeing this whole affair. We're not really, flying, much of either one at the time. So, and don't forget Arco Drones, who was in here earlier. Arco Drones does a show Saturday night. I think it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Marcus on the Grumpy Vlogger. He's on the International Drone Seeker Show, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. And then, but Lloyd, the Grumpy Vlogger, is on at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mondays, right before DroneNation. So, don't miss his show either. So I think I've hit a lot of the high spots here, whatever. They had a good show tonight. Arco, Chris Hope was on there tonight. So always good. So they may not always stick to drones, but they usually talk about something pretty interesting or whatever. So, Bill, do you have anything else you want to wrap up with here tonight? Or
no, I just want to
cover a lot of ground. We definitely covered a lot of ground tonight.
Yeah, we did cover a lot of ground. I think one of the only things that I want to say is this, guys. On a personal note, life is precious. I had a great friend of mine from high school, twin brothers, in fact. Dad was a pediatrician in the community. He grew up to be a pediatrician. 62 years old. Last week, he was out riding his bicycle, and in a freak accident, he, suffered head trauma, and 4 days later, he passed away. And then I just found out one of my friends from high school has been battling some health issues. And then one of my other friends messaged me tonight from high school saying she had to retire early because she's battling health issues. So, it's like, Ron, the more each day goes by, when I wake up in the morning, I'm thankful I'm alive for that day. And like I've said on my show, and I've said to you, and I've said to Marcus, life's too short. Enjoy each and every day that you've been given. I can't say it enough. And life is too short to have grudges, hold arguments, and not get along with people, because you know what? All that stuff, you just need to put it to the side. Like Mr. Rogers said, be kind, and be kind. I mean, it's as simple as that. That's my parting thoughts for the night. And I want to thank you and Marcus for having me on tonight. It's always great being with you guys.
Well, we had to get our DJI expert and talk about this Zoom feature, because I know we didn't get to talk about in your show much last week because we were kind of all over the place with that giant panel. So, but I definitely wanted to hear your thoughts on these updates, the Zoom and whatever, because I knew this would be the type of thing that would be a great interest to you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like you said, I don't know what drones are coming out, but I'm a happy camper with the drones I'm flying.
Yeah, I am too.
We love to speculate on what's coming out, but also, like you said about life being short or whatever, don't sit around not flying because you're waiting for the Mavic 3 or something like that. Fly what you got, because probably what you got is a great drone.
Absolutely.
So good night, everyone. And I want to thank everybody in the chat that joined us. I'm sorry I did the names early and didn't go back over them again. We probably had as many new people join as we had at the beginning. So I tried to highlight a lot of people's names on the screen here, but if I didn't get to say your name, I hope I got you highlighted on here. But again, I do want to thank everybody for coming in. You all are an important part of the community. You follow many of the same shows, and I feel Bill, did you hear earlier we had to say something to John Spizzo, who was a big
John was he had been on my show several times. I found out from Art and actually went out on Facebook. He had a Facebook profile. Apparently it was July 29th when he passed away. So our deepest sympathies to his family.
Yeah, but he was always in here, always positive comments, very supportive of all the shows, and we're going to miss him a whole lot. So like you just said, life's too short, and said we're going to miss you, John. So basically, this show is for you tonight. This is the John Spizzo show. So on that solemn note, I will end this show, and we will be back with more happy drone news tomorrow night. We got to stay positive during these tough times with the coronavirus and the financial downturn. So, when we start these drone shows, we put all that to the side and relax and fly drones.
Absolutely.
So good night, everyone. See you tomorrow night.